Penn State men's basketball looked like they were destined to finish last in the Big Ten for this upcoming season. Then they added a few pro international players, and now things get a little more intriguing.
You are Locked On Nittany Lions, your daily podcast on the Penn State Nittany Lions. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
That is right. You are locked on to Penn State men's basketball. And as always, thank you so much for making Locked On Nittany Lions your first listen and watch every single day, your daily source for all things Penn State sports. My name is Zach Seyko, and I'm your host of the show, credentialed media member for both Penn State football and Penn State wrestling. And we welcome back a very special guest. He's the voice of Penn State football. More importantly, for this conversation, he is the voice of Penn State men's basketball. Steve Jones joining the show to talk about a look ahead for Penn State basketball, the flurry of late additions that make this team, wasn't getting a lot of respect with all of the turnover. And now 4 international players have been added to this team to go alongside Kaden Mingo, Mason Blackwood. So we're going to talk about the chemistry, the dynamic, the talent, what this team will really look like this upcoming season, as well as what Mike Rhoades is up against in year 3 after a very disappointing year 2. Steve, let's just begin with the roster outlook, because this team went from most people would say this group was going to finish in last place guaranteed. After you add players that are playing professional basketball overseas, I beg to differ at this point in time. I think this is a very respectable group, but probably not the best in the Big Ten.
Well, what we'll see is I'll get a better read on it once the other 2 players are here. They're not going to be here until August. And so they will not be a part of the summer workout plan. They're not going to get here until after the August workouts are over with. Then at that point, you'll see what they have. I know they have a lot of confidence in them, but you have to be able to mix them in. They're green. I mean, the team is green, but I'll say this, they listen. Mike's able to get out there every day and teach because he has a bunch of guys that want to be taught. You mentioned Kaden Mingo. He's going to be a good player. It's what they track in practice in certain drills, turnovers. Now, he's the point guard. Right now, through this day, he has the fewest turnovers of anybody out there. Right? That's pretty good. Yeah. And he sees the floor really well. I think he knows where all the chess pieces happen to be. And that's a big plus. He's respected by the other players. He has a lot of leadership ability. And he's just a really, really good player. He's also a really, really good player that's never played a college basketball game before. Yeah. And that's the part where the mystery of this team is going to come in. I think that they added a veteran from UIC. He'll be good for them. He'll be fine. Obviously the returning players are critical to this. Eli Rice, Dom Stewart, and Freddie Dilione. Freddie Dilione's a much better player today than he was a year ago. There's no getting around it. Plays off at 2 feet, better passer, sees the floor, shoots well, is one of the better drivers in the Big Ten anyway. Eli Rice spent most of last year not playing. Yeah. And I mean spent most of last year not practicing. So this has been an important time for him. He was able to get back on the practice floor in April. That really helped him. He can shoot. I mean, there's no doubt. And Eli knows how to play. He's a really good shooter, especially I think in the wing and the corners. He's a really good shooter. And he knows and understands how to play the game. He would have really helped last year's team. He would have really helped, especially when Puff Johnson got hurt. Eli could have been the guy that would have stepped up and played. That way Nick Kern could have kept coming off the bench because Eli could have stepped into that starting spot and kept the rotation stable. But the fact that he was out for the year really hurt. Now he's moving really well, which is a big plus. And I think that's a guy people aren't talking about. That's a guy I talked about last year because I was so impressed by what I saw in the summer. But then when he got hurt, he just couldn't get himself back out there. Now he's been out there consecutively for 2.5 months now. In fact, he's been out there. Check that. He's been out there 3.5 months now, and he's moving really well. Dom Stewart is somebody that is really improved. He's got a really good shot to begin with. I mean, an outstanding outside shot. And he's playing with a lot more confidence. And it's interesting how a guy that was just green in the program a year ago is now considered to be one of the veterans of the program.
Yeah.
It tells you something about that. So, I mean, it's not just what the new guys can bring, but the three older guys are going to be guys that Mike's going to lean on. And he leans on them right now for leadership as much as anything, as well as the ability to tell the players, this is how we play. This is why the system is the way it is. And it is, I think, offensively, they're going to be able to score some points. Defensively, but they're going to. I mean, to be honest with you, Penn State's going to be a team that I think is going to have to shoot a fair amount of threes in the upcoming season. And you've got a lot of guys out there that can shoot the three. And as the Boston Celtics showed during the NBA playoffs, you can shoot a bunch of threes, and on the nights you're making them, you can run teams out. On the nights you're not making them, you can struggle. So, look, and the other part, too, about all this is I always love when people predict where somebody's going to finish. How do you do that these days? I mean, how do you do it? How do you know what kind of personnel anybody has these days? I mean, I have no idea how good Indiana is. Every single person on the roster except for 2 walk-ons are gone. They changed it over.
So much turnover.
Right? I mean, every player on Iowa's roster except for 2 guys turned over. Right? I mean, and that's Maryland. Every single guy in Maryland's roster is brand new. So I don't know. I mean, there are guys I know, like, for example, Solomon Washington transferred from Texas A&M to Maryland. Obviously, I've seen him play in person, 3 or 4 times in my career, whatever, So, I mean, there's certain guys I've seen a lot of. I mean, Purdue, their roster is essentially the same, so I know what they can do, right? Wisconsin's pretty close to about the same. I know what they can do. But a lot of teams have changed over rosters. I mean, I think it's a big guessing game. Washington has 3 guys back. All right. USC has 1 guy back.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. And that's with this team. I mean, it's a big guessing game as to what they have and what they don't have. And I think the international part of it makes it even more of a mystery for people because people are talking about what guys are capable and not capable of doing. I've never seen anybody play.
Watching hours of international basketball competition, right? That's what everyone's doing.
I watch the highlights. Well, I never watch highlights. You want to know why I don't watch highlights? Name me a highlight reel where the guy misses a shot. Wow, he's 100%. Well, the stats say he's 42.
Well, and like you said, it's the mystery of it. So let's discuss that coming up next here. The chemistry, what this lineup could look like, the players, especially with Yannick Niederhauser moving on to the NBA. Man, it would have been nice to have him back, but what is Penn State's solution in the front court? That is all coming up next here on Locked On Nittany Lions. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Summer sports are in full swing, and whether you're about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. Are you new to FanDuel? Well, new customers can bet just $5 and you'll get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. That's right. You can turn $5 into $150 in bonus bets to use on anything that I've mentioned. Major League Baseball, WNBA, tennis, Penn State football. Yes, you can bet on win totals over at FanDuel. Do you think Penn State's going to go over 10.5 wins or under? You can use those bonus bets on that and more. If you are new to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5 and you'll get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started. I think one of the biggest parts of the equation here, Steve, is the chemistry of it all between players that have, played tons of professional international basketball, but it's also just the transfer portal of players that are coming in from high school that, again, Kaden Mingo is going to take over and be one of the focal points of this team. I would not expect him to be a player that redshirts. Right? No, he is really good. He could potentially be a player that is one and done. That is how good he is. So let's start with the fact of what this team is really going to be built around. Steve, you mentioned 3-point shooting, but this core, I imagine, would be Kaden Mingo, Dilione, Eli Rice. And then what is that solution in the front court for them? Because Yannick Niederhauser leaves a massive hole, but he deserved to go into the NBA draft with the way that his stock rose.
Well, he ended up being a first-round pick.
Exactly.
And that's the first time in Penn State history they've had a first-round pick. And he went exactly where I thought he was going to go. I had some people had asked me leading in, where do you think he's going to go? I said he'll go 30 to the Clippers. I think people forget, or I shouldn't say forget, people didn't know, I don't think, that when Penn State was in Los Angeles, they had brilliant scheduling by the Big Ten. You play on Saturday and don't play again until Tuesday. I'm like, oh, just play Monday, but it doesn't matter. So Penn State Super Bowl Sunday practiced at the Clippers, at the Intuit Dome, at the Clippers facility. And the Clippers personnel were like, and that was the day Ben Simmons was there for the first time. And the Clippers people were spent a lot of time like, Yannick. And like going, yeah, that's the spot. Right. So I pretty much had an educated guess that that's where he would go. And that's great for him. It's a 3-year guaranteed contract, $6.5 million with the option for the 4th. And look, when you're a first-round pick in the NBA or you're a top 3-round pick in the NFL, you have to play your way out of the league. You're going to get chance after chance after chance after chance. If you're a second-round pick in the NBA or you're 4 through 7 in the NFL or free agent, either one, you got to play your way in to get the second contract. Okay, the second contract's the key as to what you can do. And so he's in a great spot with a lot of veterans. He doesn't have to be the starter right away. He's going to come off the bench and play for them. And that's going to work out well. The question is now, how do you replace him? And I think that's a work in progress. I want to see when everybody is here, how they're going to go about it, because you don't always have to go with a lineup that has a traditional center in there. Penn State had a lot of success last year playing with a smaller lineup.
Yep.
So there are different ways of going about it. I want to be able to see what the other two players when they come in, because look, when you are playing international basketball, you're not playing on the AAU circuit against 16, 17, and 18-year-olds. You're playing against men, right? And you find out about your game when you are playing against men right away. And so they're going to get in here. They're going to have to learn the system. They're also going to have to learn loosely the American way of playing as opposed to the international game. But they're also going to bring those fundamentals to the table that you expect. And I know they feel that they have strong fundamentals and they're good players. But you're really not going to get a read on this team at all until training camp comes around, because that's really the first time that they're all going to be together.
Penn State bringing in the likes of Kaden Mingo and Mason Blackwood to
good players.
They're both insanely talented players. I mean, high upside doesn't begin to describe what they're capable of doing. So I'm intrigued particular about that ability of the three of them, including Dominic Stewart here, because if all three of them break out and at least trend in the right direction, I mean, Penn State could be, late down the stretch, this could be a team that's just, they can beat anybody on any given night, but you're asking three players who haven't proven much yet to step up and be that best version of themselves with where they are in their development. So what are Mingo, Blackwood, and Stewart capable of if they continue to trend in the right direction?
Well, Mingo, I just like the way he handles the floor. I mean, he does a great job of handling the floor. He knows where the other chess pieces on the floor happen to be. He has a nice shot in his own right. He can take it to the basket if he needs to. He looks like he has a chance to be a good defender. And he is somebody that I know they have great confidence in, but he's also in stage one, all right, of where he's going with all this. Same thing with Blackwood, good inside outside player. He's learning like all of them are. And and I think that they work well together when they're out there. That's a big plus. The learning curve for this team is going to be on the defensive end of the floor. I mean, they're going to have to play defense like they've never played before, which is for every player across the country that makes the transition in.
Yeah.
And that's what Dom Stewart had to do last year. Dom Stewart was a guy that had to learn how to play, but mostly on the defensive end. The offensive end was never Dom's issue. And so that's the part that you're looking to see the development happen. I mean, like I said, they're a green team right now, but they're listening, which really helps. And I think that they're going to have some nights where they excel, and they're going to have some nights where they're kids. Right? It's just the way it's going to be. I think that by the end of the year, I think they've got a chance to be very good. And that's one thing about Mike, both Mike's teams. We can talk about, last year, great start, and it was the middle that was the crusher. But at the end, they won 3 of their last 5. So Mike's 2 teams here have both actually finished strong in each season. So let's see with a green unit, the ability to finish strong at the end of the year, and let's see what kind of position it puts them in. Because look, we don't even have the Big Ten schedule yet, so I can't even tell you yet. I know what the non-conference schedule is. That part I've got. I just don't know what the schedule is going to be like when they get to the Big Ten. What's the sequence of games? When's the Oregon-Washington trip? There's all those things that, we still don't really know. And, I think I've got, let me hold on. I've got right here. Let's see. So far, I have Michigan State, Northwestern, Oregon, UCLA, Washington are all the Big Ten teams that have not put out their roster yet for 25-26. Okay, everybody else has, because I've already done the pre-work on. I've done the pre-work on Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Maryland, Minnesota, Nebraska, Ohio State, Purdue, Rutgers, believe it or not, and US, and USC. I got USC done as well. Nobody knows, right? I mean, nobody knows. And that's, it's interesting in the Big 12 in football said they don't want to do a preseason poll anymore after Arizona State was picked 15th last year and then made the college football playoff. So people will put out stuff, and I'm sure that Penn State finishing near the bottom, and that's really fine. I honestly don't care. It's like you have to see it play out in front of your eyes, and I think this is going to be an interesting journey. Because I know that they feel good about the players that they brought in, but everybody's learning right now.
The 2 players, for anybody wondering, that are not presently with the team are Tunka and Mirotic, who are playing international basketball at the moment. So they will join the team in due time when August rolls around. Now, back to looking back at Mike Rhoades' transition from year 2 to year 3. Year 2 was a massive disappointment. Year 3, it's an uphill battle because he now has a lot of doubters that are doubting this Penn State men's basketball program and the direction that it's headed in. So let's discuss that. What ultimately went wrong and how Mike Rhoades can right ship. That is coming up next here on Locked On Nittany Lions. I was highly optimistic for year 2. I mean, that was the nucleus, the core that Mike Rhoades could have asked for, the best core that he could have asked for at that point in time, between Ace Baldwin and Nick Kern and Pup Johnson, Steve, and obviously Yannick Niederhauser as well. But the simple answer to all of it, injuries. injuries. Puff Johnson got hurt. Eli Rice got hurt. Ace Baldwin, you knew that he was not 100% throughout the season just by watching him play. And it was when Ace Baldwin, the face of the team, took a step back. He lost that fifth, sixth gear to being able to chase down a steal or drive to the basket and had to rely on an outside shot that just wasn't the best part of his skill set. That's where the team broke down. So I don't question necessarily coaching. It's just that team didn't have as good of the depth as you would have needed it to get through that, because it forced Baldwin into those situations. But now the expectations are going to be extremely high outside of the program, or at least, let me rephrase, as there's going to be a lot more criticism. So every time that Penn State falters, every time that Mike Rhoades falters, it's going to be, well, Penn State's not heading in the right direction, and the 7-year contract doesn't make sense anymore. I still have the buy-in and belief of Mike Rhoades. I just think he had a bad stretch of bad luck that last season.
Well, they did, because so Puff Johnson gets hurt. Okay. Everybody knows about that. Mm-hmm. Well, you replaced him with Nick Kern. Well, my first question to people when they'd say that to me is, I'd say, well, who replaced Nick? Huh? What are you talking about? Mm-hmm. Huh? Well, somebody has to come off the bench in Nick's role. Who was that? Right? Seemed to confuse some of the fans when I asked that. And that's the issue that you have, is that there's a domino effect, because when Penn State beat Purdue back in December, Yannick got into foul trouble in that game. Who played 5? Puff Johnson.
Yeah.
Okay. That was what he brought to the table. But it wasn't just him. Eli Rice was out for a period of time. Mm-hmm. Ace was hurt in the preseason, then came back, right? Got through the first, month and a half of the season, then got hurt again at Illinois. And, then he couldn't play the Oregon game, and he kind of fought his way back. Then Yannick got hurt during the season.
Yes, he did.
And missed time. So, you had, these issues to deal with, and they had opportunities. I mean, they had all these close losses. Every time you turn around, it was a loss by 5 points or less. I mean, that was the margin of this team. It reminded me a lot of the 2010 team, where Penn State in 2009 won the NIT, should have been in the NCAAs, but they won it. So everybody had expectations then in 10, with everybody coming back, except for Jamel Cornley, and they went 3-11 in games decided by 5 points or less. Okay, so they have a lousy year. Well, then the next year, they ended up going 11-4 in games decided by 5 points or less, and made the NCAA tournament. Now, you can't apply that to this team because it's a completely different cast of players.
I know.
All right. But it's all the close losses they had last year. Every time you turned around, it was a loss by 2, a loss by 4, a loss by 5. All right. And that wears on you after a period of time. Yes, there were a couple of blowout losses along the way. You lost to USC, and the Los Angeles trip was not exactly a work of art. But it was all the close losses. But look, this is a fresh start. Right? All the way through. You got 3 guys returning. Mm-hmm. So now you get to really build essentially from the ground up. And they really believe, I remember it was the week of the Big Ten tournament. The weekend of the Big Ten tournament. Penn State wasn't in the Big Ten tournament. That's when members of the coaching staff went to Europe. Right? And they took advantage of it. And now we're going to find out whether that pays any dividends or not, whether this approach is the one that long-term gets Penn State going here, because you've got a mixture of a solid freshman core that I like. I watch them in practice every day. I like that group. They're a really good group, but I don't know how they're going to play in the Big Ten, right? And then the international players, of which, there are a couple here already. And it looks to me like they have the ability to help.
One addition that we exactly haven't talked about here, but is certainly just going to help the program be better, is Taylor Battle joined the staff. And it feels like a long time coming, with the time that he spent at Northwestern, because his brother played on that team. And but then Ohio State, right? He was an assistant coach at Ohio State. Mm-hmm. So this finally feels like a storybook moment to have Taylor Battle return to Happy Valley. And that just helps overall. I like that Joe Crispin is on the staff a ton. You can see his influence within the offense, because at the end of the day, you're going to get a team that's going to hustle and try to put up as many points as possible because Joe Crispin's influence within that system. And now you just get another guy that likes Penn State basketball above all else, and somebody that isn't going to necessarily use this as a way to leapfrog to something better. This is a destination job for him, and you need more people like that.
Well, I mean, Brent Scott's done a great job with the big guys, and Yannick is a perfect example of that. Yeah. I mean, he identified Yannick early in that process before anybody else identified him, and then believed in him, and he developed into a first-round pick. Jamal Brunt does a great job with the defensive end of it. There are just angles and positions that you need to play, and he's starting with a green group from scratch that he's able to teach. Joe Crispin offensively, he wants freedom out there. He wants the players to be free and enjoy playing offense. Players normally enjoy playing offense, but when you've got the freedom to make some plays, the players love that. Taylor Battle, one thing I find interesting about Taylor Battle is that he is vocal. I mean, he will step up and he will say things to players in a teaching way, but he will talk to them and he'll be forceful about it. He's been there. He's done that. He has had success at Penn State. He knows Penn State has, it's always a fight, but he's had success where Penn State's won. They won an NIT and made an NCAA tournament with him. And he does not hesitate to step in and tell players X, Y, and Z when as to why something did or did not work. You also have a lot of players that want to spend time after practice right now looking at video with the coaches. Right. And, that's one thing with the iPads now. You can sit down. Everything is taken care of right away. So you have a lot of teaching that's going on right now, and you have a lot of really good teachers out there, with Mike being the primary teacher. Look, am I a big believer in Mike Rhoades? Absolutely. When you're around him every single day, he knows basketball. He knows what he wants. He knows where to go, and he knows how to get there. But it's Penn State basketball, and it needs more time. And I know people have heard about time, but they need. I mean, he's going to need more time. People want to just. There's been a trend across the country of either coaches giving up on programs and going someplace else, right, or programs and fan bases giving up coaches and then can't believe they're starting from square one. Oh, what do you mean we're starting over? Well, you guys wanted the coach gone, right? Okay. So look, he is somebody that knows how to coach. He has the personality to do it. And in this day and age, you have to have the force and the backbone of personality and knowledge to get it done in today's atmosphere. And Mike can do that. Now, there are going to be fans that say, "Oh, Steve, excuse me, people don't think I'm like realistic with them about this stuff." His first year here, they said, "What do you think?" I said, "I don't know. I watch them every day. I don't know." Right? This year, same thing. I'm looking at them every day. I don't know. We'll see. Right? Do I see some signs and some good things? Sure. But summer practice. So I don't know. Right? That's an honest answer. Right? Now, last year, I think because of the veteran returning cast, that I think they had a chance to be an NCAA team. Yeah. And up to January 2nd, I looked pretty good. Right? And then after that, it didn't look so good. And Dick Girardi felt the same way. We both felt the same way. But if I don't know, I'll tell the fans, I don't know. And with this team, there's a lot of things I really, really like, but I don't know how good they're going to be.
I think the two biggest obstacles for Mike Rhoades in year 3 are chemistry, but also perception, outside perception. And that is where we will finish things on this edition of Locked On Nittany Lions, talking Penn State men's basketball well ahead of the season starting. But now that this roster has taken shape, it's a good time to catch up and see where things are. He is the voice of Penn State football, also Penn State men's basketball. Steve Jones joining the show again. Steve, thank you so much for the time. Appreciate the conversation as always, and can't wait to catch up again about either football or men's basketball. So thank you.
Anytime, Zach. No problem.